Yo yo, what up YouTube? So let's get into it. Start off with Apollo's passive. After 10 successful basic attacks, Apollo gains Audacity, increasing his attack speed by 100% for the next 5 basic attacks. Hit or miss, he makes. Apollo also gains 2 stacks of Audacity for each successful damaging ability on enemy gods. Okay, so right above your portrait, you can see it takes 10 autos to fill that bar. And then you got those little spikes coming out. And that's 5 autos. You get 100% attack speed buff for 5 autos. So it doubles your attack speed. This is something that's pretty important to note when you're trying to build, but we'll get into that when I get into the items. And another thing to note about the passive that some people don't know is when you hit a god, it won't restack your passive. Only on the very last auto of the buff will it increase it. So I'll show you right now. So that's 1 auto toward the passive, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And you got it rebuffed. And just to show you how that works, so I missed that last auto. Now it's going to take 10 instead of 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, that's pretty simple. That's all that you need to know about the passive for now. The 1 is considered a damaging ability, and it's just a straight line, and it does damage. There's no special effects on it. And it also gives you 2 stacks, so that'd be worth 2 autos. So if you hit 5 ones, you'll your passive will go up. So that's the 3rd, 4th, and the 5th. So now you got the buff. All of this works together, so 2 autos plus 1, you know, that's considered 4 towards your 10 autos that you need to hit. Okay, so your 2, it's considered a mez. Now, mesmerize in SMITE, that means they can't do anything for that whole time that they're mezzed unless they take damage. When they take damage, they immediately get put out of it. Okay. And yeah, that's pretty much all that you need to know. Physical protections, you get, it lasts for 5 seconds. So if Rama's ulting you, don't be afraid to just use this to try to take less damage if you feel like you can live it. That's something super useful to note. And the cooldown goes down with time. This is the only ability where cooldown, leveling it, the cooldown will go down. Okay, so on to his 3. I'll just read this one off because it's kind of complicated. Apollo runs forward and slides on his knees, dealing damage, knocking aside all enemies, and adding a stack of Audacity for each enemy hit. At the end of the slide, the movement speed is decreased for enemies and increased for his allies. Okay, so at the end of this circle, if anybody is in it, allies, they get a movement speed increase, and enemies, they get a movement speed decrease. So you can tell by that those little circles, that's how you know that they got the movement speed decrease. It's a really good ability. This also gives you 2 stacks of your passive. So from abilities alone, without your ult, you can get 4 stacks really quick. Something super useful to know for boxing when you're facing off against an enemy god. And yeah, it also knocks them aside. It's pretty much a knock-up. And knock-ups are the best form of CC in SMITE. Because even if they beads when they're in the air, they won't be able to get out of it. They have to preemptively use their beads or CC immunity move to get out of this. That's why knock-ups are the best CC in the game. Okay, so his ult. Apollo rides his chariot across the sky, choosing when to land, dealing damage every 0.2 seconds for 0.8 seconds as he lands. Enemies hit by the last tick of the landing will also be knocked up. So I'm just going to slow-mo this to show you guys how much damage it does. Okay, on to leveling up with Apollo. Now, this gets pretty tricky, but the first 5 levels are always the same. So, level 1, you level the 1. Level 2, you level the 3. Always. Pretty much always. Level 3, you're going to want to get the 2. Level 4, you're going to want to get the 1. And then level 5, you get the alt. Pretty much the best way to level them is whenever you can level up the 1, do it. So level 6 and 7, you level the 1. Level 8, this is where things get tricky. Now, this is where builds come into play and certain things like this. So I'm going to show you a tip in the middle of this to tell you whether you should be leveling the 2 or the 3. Okay, so say you're fighting somebody and you know that it's going to be a 1v1 and you get your passive on them, right? You're dumping those autos with your buffed passive 100% increased attack speed. So you just got 4 extra autos, 100%, and he's still coming at you trying to hit you, okay? So if he has more attack speed, it's going to be beneficial to level the 2 for this tip, and I'm just going to show you it. So say you're on your last auto of the passive, it doesn't matter if you miss or you hit it, but say I miss. Say I'm fighting him, E3s me, I2 alt. They're going to try to hit you with 2 autos, right? They're going to try to hit you with 2 autos if their abilities are on cooldown. And that's what's going to happen every single time. I'm not even joking. If they don't have abilities up, they will just try to whack you because they think you're just going to run away or you're going to try to reposition. So it's pretty complicated, this tip, I'm not going to lie. But let's say I get 1 more point in the 2 now, okay? I'm not even going to do the passive thing anymore. Let's say I do it. He only gets 1 auto off instead of 2. Alright? Now, like I said, this varies heavily depending on how much attack speed the enemy has. But that extra 0.3 seconds at level 8, like I said, they're probably either going to have Ninja Tabby or Warrior Tabby at this point. But it depends on what god you're playing up against. If you're playing up against a physical, it's pretty much always good to max the 2 over the 3. I'm just saying that right now, because the 3, sometimes you might end up using it to get away, so you're not going to be doing that damage. The movement speed buff is good, but like I said, up against warriors and stuff, who build Warrior Tabby and no attack speed, that rank 2 at level 8, like I said, when this is crucial, this is the point, they're only going to be able to get 1 auto off on you. As you can see. The 1 point, when I had the 1 point at level 7, he was only able to get 2, right? He was able to get 2 autos, but once I ranked that up, and I put it into rank 2, he couldn't get the 2nd auto off, okay? So that's something that's pretty important to notice. If they're mainly physical damage, I would rank up the 2 for the most part, and that's the reasoning behind it. And then 8. Like I said, with that tip in mind, you're gonna want the 2, and then I max the 1, and then I keep maxing the 2 for the most part. Unless I feel like being flashy all the time and I'm not using my ult to escape. If you're going for full damage, by all means, max the ult whenever you can. But the 2 is so crucial, man. It really is. And then from that point on, you know, if you want to max the ult, max it for the damage. Yeah, most of the time when you're close to them and that mez is going off, they're trying to hit you with an auto before you go up into the air, because they don't think that you're going to re-engage for the most part that quickly, because some people don't even know that you can do that, right? And if you're one of them, let me know in the comments, and that would be pretty neat to know. Yeah, and then the very last tip for Apollo, like one of the major ones that I think should be said, is you can 2 and then alt away. And the most that they'll be able to get off is an auto when you're at max rank of 2. Well, it's super important. The more levels that you put in the 2, the more boxing potential you have, pretty much. That's really all that it is. Up against a physical ADC. Like, you can dash into them all day. Even if you miss the dash, most of the time you're not going to miss the 2. And even if you do, you're getting a benefit from it. Okay, so the 2 is going to help you out a lot more than that little bit of movement speed increase. Okay, so we're going to talk about the core items on Apollo. First and foremost, Transcendence. Transcendence is the best item to get early on for him, in my opinion. It gives you so much utility in terms of your ultimate. You're allowed to do a lot more with it than you wouldn't, or you're able to do a lot more with it than if you didn't have it. So say you went Devour Gauntlets. You're going to be using your ult way less in terms of the time used on it. You're not going to be able to fly around the map, wait for anybody. If you need help with a gank or you want to reinitiate, you're going to have to choose a lot faster versus if you had Transcendence. Just the amount of time, because your ultimate saps mana. Enough on that. You can go Warrior Tabby or Ninja Tabby, but fun fact, Apollo only needs 30% attack speed when he's level 20 to hit the attack speed cap. It's 2.5. So you can only put 5% attack speed in a build, and then from that point on, you're going to be overcapping if you go Ninja Tabby. So Warrior Tabby scales more, but Ninja Tabby is far better early on in the game. This is just fact. Ninja Tabby is better early on for Apollo, but once the game gets later, Warrior Tabby starts to outscale. Alright, let's talk about Ichival, or Ichival, however you want to say it. It's a really good early game item. It helps out a lot if you went Ninja Tabby and you want to snowball the game. It is pretty damn strong. I think it's underused on him, especially with games that you feel like you can stomp with a Thanatos or something like that. You have early game gods on your team, try to snowball. For the most part, if you don't know them or something and you want to scale late game, just do whatever you want, really. This is just, if you want to do that, it's a really good early game item. We should also talk about the passive, I guess. Every basic attack, increase your power and reduce the attack speed on your opponent by 10% for 3 seconds. It's really good. It allows you to win those early game trades. You can trade out an AMC who's trying to go Transcendence, Ninja Tabby. Like, if they don't go Ichival, you're winning the trade pretty much. If you're even in skill level, you should win early game trades with this item, hands down. All right, on to Wind Demon. It gives an insane buff. So if this is your first crit item, every 1 in 5 autos gives you 20% increased attack speed and movement speed for 5 seconds. This is insane. I think it's one of the best power spikes Apollo can get. So you could put it in your 3rd slot after boots and it would work pretty well. You could put it in your 4th slot and I think it would work really well, because if you go Bloodforge then this, you are hitting like a tank. It's insane. But Wind Demon's super good. It's going to be getting buffed. We'll talk about all the items. Well, not all of them, but some of the changes to crit in a little bit in the next patch. But this is just all current patch stuff as the time of this release. So Poison Star, I think it's undervalued. It gives you more crit, and whenever you crit, you afflict them with poison for 2 seconds, which slows them so you can kite them easier if it's a tank or something like that. And it also makes them easier to hit no matter who it is, and it reduces their damage output by 15%. So this is really good for trading up against hunters. If you get a couple autos off, or the first auto and it's a lucky crit off of them, it's just, to me, it's really good and it's fun to use. That's why I put it in there. I don't think that it's a bad item. Some people might say it. Okay, so on to Bloodforge. I think it's the best lifesteal item. It's better than Devo Gauntlets because you don't need to stack it, and it also gives a passive. Devo Gauntlets gives 65 power at max stacks. Right now, when you start, it only gives 30 and 15, but it goes up to 65 power and 29% lifesteal. So its base stats are better. It costs, how much more does it cost? Sorry. It costs 500 more gold, but I think it's worth it. And the passive is really good for getting double kills or getting a kill and needing to run away with the movement speed bonus, especially with Wind Demon. Most gods aren't going to be able to chase you down unless they have hard CC. Okay, so let's talk about penetration. So if you're thinking about going Executioner, look at the enemy's builds and see if they have a bunch of health. If there are mages who have Warlock Sash like Baba Yaga, or there's a Cthulhu in the game, most of the time, and the tanks are building health physical defense items or health magical defense items, kin size most of the time on Apollo is just going to be better. The benefits that you get from it are insane, especially up against a Cthulhu. Executioner really isn't going to help you that much. If they have 3 front lines and they all have over 200 defense, then just get Titan's Bane in the end. I think that's going to benefit you way more, just because you're wasting the main stat for that is the penetration, right, for Executioner. But another big part of that item, why it costs quite a bit, is the 25% attack speed. If that were off, it'd be a much cheaper item. So you got to think about the value of what you're getting on the god. So like Apollo, he doesn't need that much attack speed from that item. When you're looking for a pen item, you're not looking for it to increase your attack speed. So you got to look at the value of, hey, do they have health with this defense, or hey, do they just have a bunch of defense? If so, you can get Titan's Bane at the end of the game. If not, if they have a bunch of health as well with the defense, you can get kin size, and most of the time you can get away with it, because it'll also help you with the boxing of the enemy hunters. Okay, so this is going to be showcasing a build where you're utility based. You have Toxic Blade for the anti-heal, and you have Poison Star just to stop some of the damage coming out. Now it's 1 auto, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It averages between 5 to 8 autos up against a hunter like Neath with her stats. Now let's swap over to Deathbringer instead in this situation. Just to give you guys a rough estimation of how much damage your build will be doing. You see Deathbringer can bring it down to 3, but I don't know, I like Poison Star a lot more if you're only going 2 crit items. And the reason why you only have 2 crit items is because you need Toxic Blade. Yeah. I think that is a pretty good transition into the new items, so I'll put them up right now. So the new anti-crit heal, or the new anti-heal crit item, I think it's going to make Apollo crit come back a lot stronger than it was before. They're buffing Wind Demon. They're buffing Poison Star, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Apollo's just going to be a monster. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.